All right, Virgo, thanks for tuning in to your December of 2014 horoscope. My name is Athan. Okay, so the emphasis this month is on your fourth house, which on a mundane level, let's start there, has to do with home, family, past, roots, it's essentially where you come from. It's the bottom of the chart. And also your emotions, how you feel, what's going on the inside, and essentially there's going to be a lot of transformation taking place this month in that sector. Pluto's been transiting your fourth house, so there's been transformation there for many years, but now we've got this square with Uranus, Pluto, which has been going on, while at the same time all the fast-moving planets are going over Pluto as well, and there's a lot of aspects taking place, which I'll talk about of that sector, and that's where the new moon will be. So there's a lot of emphasis there on that fourth house, and that's where a lot of transformations are going to take place. So you guys are going to be feeling continuing, but I think on a mundane level, some day-to-day things really invoking these transformations that are happening on the inside. You know, this is really an awesome place for Pluto because Pluto is essentially helping you transform your inside, how you feel, your temple, your body, and through that, it's creating a constructive power, a spiritual power that comes from it, because that's always the result of Pluto. And a sense of compassion and open heart too. That's what Pluto really symbolizes at the end of the day, is a release of attachment to, in this sense, the body or the temple or the home and the family, and then through that a tremendous amount of compassion comes from it. Now Pluto is very deep. It's very unknown, and how Pluto works exactly, specifically, sometimes individually we just don't know. We just go through the process of it, we go through the experience of it, and it naturally does its work. But what we can do is we can assume the power and take control over how open to change, being open to change, assuming the role of being a creator and transformer of our own lives, wanting change, wanting to clear the decks, clear all the garbage that's not serving us, and then through that we allow the change to happen much smoother. We become active in that sense. Because if we resist change or we continue to attach and hold on to things, we create density, and then Pluto will transform that, will destroy that essentially, and that's what creates a lot of destruction, a lot of uneasiness with these transits. But it doesn't have to be the case. What needs to happen is you just need to be an active role, an active participant in the transformations. Want change in your life. It's as simple as that. It's as simply said as that, but of course it takes more work. It's harder said than done, and again, it's going through the experiences of it, but it really helps to have the orientation of being open to the changes in that area. But I think you guys are naturally going to be wanting to. Venus is still leading the pack of the fast-moving planets. She's the first to go into your fourth house, and then she's going to be the first one to conjunct up to Jupiter. So early in the month, around the 5th, there's this wanting to perhaps do something around the home, maybe a new home, or transform some things around the home area, or perhaps it has to do with family, maybe connecting to family. After all, for a lot of us it is the holidays, and maybe wanting to have those connections, those deep emotional connections, but what's happening is we're wanting to get deeper with feelings, essentially. Wanting to get into, the more, the emotional side of things. And so use that, enjoy that. And Venus from the 15th to the 5th, from the 5th through the 15th is going to be leading the way. And the energy is going to be very clear. So use that time to enjoy the fourth house things. Enjoy the family, enjoy the home, enjoy your feelings, feel them, see how valuable they are, how much beauty is in there, and then through relationships connect and exchange in that sense. And then that's going to create the orientation of wanting the change, I really feel. And then Mercury is going to go into the fourth house, which would be a little bit later on the 13th. From the 13th onward, there should be some clarity, some understanding going on about how you feel, so really tap into that. Take that conscious self and turn it inward, see what's going on the inside. That will really assist things. And then the Sun goes into the fourth mid-month on the 15th. Now the 15th is a very important date because that's when the exact square happens with Uranus. And the Sun's going to be just entering into that fourth house. So on the 15th, when the Sun's there from the 15th onward, see the immense enjoyment that comes from having a loose inner transformative inner environment. okay, or a home that you're not, the things changing in the home sphere or the family sphere, where you're not attached to it, you're just enjoying the process of it in the now moment. And there's a lot of actually activity involving Neptune and Chiron. Neptune and Chiron are going to be sextiling up to this position. So I feel like seeing the fun and enjoyment that can be had in these areas is also going to create a tremendous amount of healing and help us go through the flow of this whole process. And be willing to go deep. This is the month to go deep. And maybe it's very introspective for you because it's the 4th house. But do it. Be the willing participant. You're going to notice the deeper you go, deeper into the psyche, deeper into the emotions, the conditionings, the past, everything that you're releasing in terms of your past is going to be creating a stronger power, spiritual power, healing also with Chiron, and overall just a sense of peace in your life, believe it or not. It's almost like, when we're active, when we're wanting to do these things, then there's peace. But when we're not, then there's havoc. That's the kind of energy. And I really feel like it really is releasing a lot of past emotions, past feelings, past thoughts, past people, anything. The 4th house is just everything from past, and it's karmic too. And Pluto's just getting rid of all that. So this is the month, and for the next few months up until March, until we have this last hit with Uranus, be willing to just release all that garbage, get rid of all that emotional stuff that's just not serving you. And you're going to find not only all of this enjoyment and joy and excitement that comes from this, that I'm talking about in terms of these personal planets this month, you're going to find a tremendous amount of freedom as well, because Uranus is going exact on the 15th with this aspect. It's been going on for the past couple of years, and you've probably been noticing the more you clear, the more free you actually feel. But you're going to really notice it, I feel, this month, and then the awareness of it. Things are going to click, I feel, or just make more sense, at least emotionally. And then from now until March, it's the end of it. So use this time for the next few months to do that, and then there's just more and more freedom that's going to come from that. And the freedom is really a freedom of relationships, actually. Uranus has been transiting your 7th house. And so you guys are finding that the relationship you have with yourself and the relationship you have with others has to be about freedom. You have to be willing to do your thing. You have to be, let's say in terms of the relationship you have with yourself, you have to be willing to be yourself before you can build a strong relationship with yourself. And so, or it's external, 2 individuals in a relationship, they need to both feel free and independent. And if it's not there, relationships doesn't work because it becomes rigid and confined. And so that's what you're learning with Uranus in that 7th house, the importance of that. And you also want to help others assist you in this transformation. There's a square here which is suggesting there might be some hesitation to allow others into your emotional sphere, but do it. Trust me, it's merging those 2 energies together, and they can assist you in that process. Let people in is a strong element of this energy. But you can do that without losing your sense of individuality, without losing your freedom in the process. And vice versa. Through all this restructuring that you're doing emotionally, it's assisting your relationships as well. So with the square energy, the key is to really bring them together, merge them together, and then you're noticing that there is actually no square at all. They're very harmonious. That when you are emotionally clean, it supports your relationships, and there's freedom. And when you are when your relationships are free and they're about independence, there's no attachment, there's no buildup, there's no dense energy being created in the inside, in your emotional sphere. So that's this type of aspect, like I said, has been going on for the past couple of months, past couple of years, excuse me. And so now things are just going to start to click. And I think the clicking is going to really start to happen around the 15th when this aspect goes exact and the sun goes into that 4th house. Now, like I said, now the planets are going to touch on to Pluto one by one. First, it's going to be Venus, which does rule relationships. Be willing to release any attachments to relationships this month. This is for everybody. Mercury then is going to go over Pluto, which is you got to just release any concepts, any projections that you're projecting onto anything. Okay, this is later on in the month from the 20th onward. And then the sun's going to go over there, which is going to be a revitalizing force, which is allowing all old concepts of who you think you are to die away so that the true you, the real you, can really come out into being. And the 20th is a very pivotal point. That's when these planets start to touch, but it's also when Uranus goes station direct and Mars touches this part of the chart. So let's touch on the Uranus transit. Uranus going station direct, I feel from the 21st onward, it's going to be a newfound sense of freedom. You're going to find a new sense of freedom perhaps through your relationships, and more importantly, the relationship you have with yourself. Okay, so use the time around the 21st to just continue to just be yourself. Just be yourself, but bring it into your emotional sphere. Notice how they're not separate things. They're one and the same. And the cleaner you are, the freer you are. And then that's when I think the real shift is going to happen. And that's leading the way now for the lesson learned kind of thing. You know, like I've been saying, this lesson learned is clicking around the 20th even, maybe the 15th or the 20th, in which you start to really get it. And then you can really apply that freedom in relationships and transformation in the emotional sphere and past. And that's really going to start to move the energies for the next few months up through March. In which time that's the last thing you got to do. You finish up, you're wrapping it up, and then that's it. Work is done. And the more work, the more active you were in this process, the more you cleared and the more freer you're going to feel when March comes around. And also, the cleaner you're going to feel in the emotional sphere, and not so much karmic attachment to your past either, with Pluto in that 4th house. Now, also around that 20th, like I said, Mars is going to be aspecting up to this square, and it's very benefic. Mars is playing a very benefic role this month. He's going to be transiting your 5th house for the entire month. And so I feel like this is a focal point. Really focus on putting energy into your self-expression, being yourself, and enjoying life. Mars in the 5th house is taking the initiative to enjoy yourself, okay? And when you do that, you're going to find that it's supporting all of this transformation. And perhaps it's a creative project too with the 5th house, entrepreneurship with business, maybe artistic, something of that nature. But you're motivated to do that, and I highly recommend you do. And you'll notice that it's assisting a lot of this transformation this month. And you can achieve a lot actually in terms of creation, just so you know, this month by utilizing that Mars energy. And from the 20th, you're going to notice it really helping, really shifting things up. All right, so let's talk about Jupiter this month. Jupiter's been transiting your guys' 11th house, and he's going retrograde on the 9th. So there's been a lot of expansion over about the past year in terms of your ideals, allowing your ideals to expand. Perhaps a lot of you being involved in community work or service and being of service to others and seeing the great abundance and beauty and wonderful things that come to you when you do that. But now it's the time of reflection. So from the 9th onward and for the next few months, really reflect on how your service work or your ideals are, what they're about, you know, how they're doing, how they're progressing. In terms of your ideals, really see how your ideals influence your path, influence your life, and help create optimism there, you know, and perhaps this is groups too for some of you. Some of you might be, you know, involved in groups, so use this time to really reflect how things are unfolding in those areas as well. And the more you're going to learn in that process. But with any retrograde, especially in the 11th, overall, it just has to do with really thinking about how you can bring more of your ideals into reality. Okay, what's important to you on a higher sense, how you can bring and channel that into your everyday life. And then through that, there's a tremendous amount of freedom actually as well, because the 11th house is the higher self. It's freedom, ruled by Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. And in terms of this Jupiter retrograde, reflect on how you can bring more freedom into your life. Okay, but it's involving your ideals, it's not involving the relationships per se. It's more about how who you are in a higher sense can be expanded upon and channeled down into this reality. Now let's talk about Saturn this month. Saturn recently went into your 3rd house last month. And so this is a new energy here, but it's a grounding point. And I feel like with all these transformations, there's a lot of, there needs to be grounding, okay? And so using the 3rd house as your grounding point. The 3rd house is the conscious mind. It's also learning and teaching. So I think all of those things that involve your mind, involve communications, learning, teaching, is going to serve a very strong grounding principle for you guys this month. So really tap into that. And that's, you know, that's going to create a solid foundation for all of these transformations that are taking place. And, you know, for you guys don't shy away from getting deep into things. So get deep into things, you know, in terms of analyzing, getting down, understanding things, understanding the transformational aspect of life, and what you've learned from the whole process in your past, and that's Saturn in Scorpio for you, and learning in terms of your conscious mind, what you know about it, going into your knowledge about transformation, about maturity even too, and how it's important for you to be responsible in your life and not to create changes that are disruptive, but to create changes that are nice and grounded and long-term and big picture. All right, so let's talk about the moon this month. There's going to be a full moon happening on the 6th, and it's in your guys' 9th house. So reflect around the 6th in terms of how your life path is unfolding. And through there's some usefulness that's going to assist in these shifts. Perhaps a lot of you might actually be culminating some things that you've been working on over the past 6 months in terms of travel, university, life path, higher self, higher connection. But the full moon in the 9th, it's just a time to really listen to the higher, listen to the bigger picture, your connection to God, your connection to the higher realms. Allow that energy to channel in, because that's going to be a supportive element also. And really listening, the more you listen, the more that's illuminated. It's almost like you can see your path this month. Okay, this is a lot of us right now with Pluto transiting Jupiter, and a lot of us are not very keen and aware of what's been going on in our paths. But this month, for the first half at least, you have the ability to really see how things are unfolding. So use that overarching perspective. Now on the 21st, this is wrapping everything up this month. The new moon is taking place in that 4th house. So I feel like there's going to be this freshness, this fresh start in terms of how you feel. Perhaps it's home, perhaps it's family, perhaps it's past. That's the mundane aspect of it. But in the spiritual sense, just this inner transformation that's been taking place, and this sense of freshness that comes from it. That's what the new moon brings. And that's going to lead into the energies of January, in which all of this work you've been doing on the inside is then going to become much more creative as the fast-moving planets go into your 5th house. All right, so I'm going to draw a card and see where Spirit would like a little more emphasis for you guys this month. Okay, Gemini. Well, Gemini is very strongly associated with that 3rd house, and but for you guys, I think this might just be a reminder to socialize, get out there a little bit, and use that conscious mind like I'm talking about. But Gemini, and especially with the 3rd house too, and with Saturn there, you guys are becoming much more grounded in terms of your interactions with others. And so this might be a time to really celebrate and enjoy and tap into the playful side of yourself. And that'll be a strong grounding element. But what it'll also do, it'll also create lightheartedness, which is so vitally important during times where there's such transformation. Don't lose sight of the fact that this is only one life. You live multiple lives, and what you're experiencing now is temporary, and so enjoy it as much as you can and learn from it. Because at the end of the day, what's Gemini? It's learning. See what you can take from it, because what you're learning during this period is what's going to lead you into much more awareness and much more joy and happiness for the rest of the years to come. Now, also in terms of you guys specifically in your chart, Gemini rules your 10th house, so maybe for some of you this might be a reminder to perhaps get involved with work and focus on that a little bit. It might be a good channel for you, but there's no other activity involving that 10th house. Or maybe it's also an indicator perhaps get out into the public a little bit more. So while you are in a very introverted phase, it's very important that you balance introversion with extroversion. Make sure you're getting out there, make sure you're being seen, because that's where your work is being done. That's where you're really helping people, whether it's through your work or passing someone by on the street. It's having those interactions in society, being a part of society, that you are giving and being of service, which is supporting you and everyone else in this transformation process. Just want to let you guys know that I'm offering a special this month. It's a 45-minute recorded reading gift you can give to a friend or family member. And of course, you guys already get 50% off my 1-hour sessions, which you can also extend, and it's a great way to look at the year ahead. All right, well, I hope you guys have a great month, and I'll see you next time. Take care.